Okay.
You want to start it with the comedy, or you want to start with the serious? You tell me.
Whatever. I can
You,
do
you
both.
pick, you pick what you like.
Comedy.
Comedy,
We'll
okay.
go on a roll.
All right. What did you think of the comedy he said about Hoover? They had a better year.
Oh my God! Well, it's true. It's true. He did have a better year. So his autograph. I think at one time you had to have two Hoovers to get one Babe Ruth.
It was only two?
Yeah, it took. It took. Yeah, two. Yeah, if you had, you wouldn't give up your Babe Ruth unless you had two Hoovers.
You know what? Right now you'd probably have to give him 100 Hoovers to get one Babe Ruth. At least, maybe even 1,000.
But I will tell you, do you know when my grandfather got near Washington when they played the Senators? They used to walk in and out of the White House kitchen and have sandwiches with Hoover like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's able to eat more?
Oh, I bet you Babe he had to feed himself 6 times to fuel the energy that he expended. That's why he ate so much. Yeah, he was a sweater and he was ADHD too. He was like,
Really?
That's why he brought curfew. You put him in a room and he can't sleep for 2 hours a night. What'd you do? Climb the walls, right? Yep. They used to check and they used to check curfew and he'd get in bed and he'd pull up the covers. So when they checked, all his head was sticking out, except for he forgot he had a pipe in his mouth. They caught
Okay.
him.
What do you think of the quote that he said? To my little sick pal, I will try to knock you another homer, maybe 2 today.
He did that everywhere he went. There were thousands of Johnny Sylvesters. That's who that was for, Johnny Sylvester. And he used to go into the hospitals, and he used to put his head in the door, and kids that couldn't walk. Kids who couldn't walk ran. And he had that. They'd get so excited. And so he'd go into a hospital and say, send me to your sickest children. And he loved the kids grounded him. He loved kids. He loved kids.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, even
That's why he was a babe.
That's right. And even when he was in St. Mary's in the reform / orphanage / he was always the big guy protecting what they call the minims. They were little guys. And Babe used to have the bakers do buns with molasses on it to warm their hands, because you went outside, rain or snow, you were outside. And he used to take care of them. He had a miscount on his shirts because he was a shirt maker. And they looked up and there's Babe's shirt all torn to pieces as a kite to the tails for the kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we get all those kite pieces back together
I
now and get that jersey
Wouldn't
back?
that be cool?
Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, it'd be a little
It's something interesting.
I wish I could get one of his shirts. That would be cool.
Right now, maybe one have gotten years ago.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're probably talking about $1 million now for that shirt.
And he was very fussy about his shirts too.
Yeah.
I talked to a man who knew the woman, and she said he was one pain in the.
It can never be a pain. Believe it or not, one of the 2 people I've always wanted to meet in my life. I've met almost every major athlete. Babe is number 1, Lou's number 2.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice, good company.
Yeah.
Good company.
The way a team plays as a whole determines its success. You may have the greatest bunch of individuals in the world, but if they don't play together, the club won't be worth a dime. So what was the Yankees worth with Babe?
Oh God, it was. You can't put a number on it, and especially
so
nowadays.
why didn't they pay him?
Oh, they did though.
No, why didn't they pay him as a manager?
Oh, want to know why?
Why?
I'm here to tell you. I'm going to find it. I can't find it in print. There's a gentleman's agreement that you didn't barnstorm with the Negro Leagues.
So that's what.
Babe used to defy Landis all the time and barnstorm with the Negro Leagues. And what happened was, when they went to 1934, when they went to Japan, Connie Mack said, "I want you to manage these games. I want to see how you do," because he was with the Philadelphia Athletics and he was ready to retire for 40 years. And Babe did all the games perfect. The guys played their hearts because Babe never held a grudge. He'd yell at you, and then it was gone with the wind, which is a great manager to do.
Right.
And so he did everything great, and Connie said, "You're my man." And when they got back to the States, he made up some bogus thing about Claire being a pain in the neck and she'd be running. But Landis said, "No, you're not, Connie." Because he was going to I'm convinced that he was going to put a player of color on the team in 1934.
Wow.
That's why he was blackballed and he couldn't get any manager job. Because that's what I'm going to find it. That's what I'm searching for. I've been looking for 40 years, and I think that's what it was. Because there's a gentleman, Happy Chandler talked about it. It was a gentleman's agreement that you didn't barnstorm with the Negro Leagues.
You have nothing in writing then.
No, I don't know. I hope I find it. If it's out there,
God
I'll
will,
find
if God
it.
will, and if you find it, it will happen.
But you have,
You'll find it.
you know how you have arrows all pointing, but you can't get the Holy Grail?
Right.
That's what we got.
The closer you get, you're gonna get to it. One day you will be there.
Yeah, maybe on the other side.
No.
Yeah.
You're gonna be there on this side.
Babe
This side's the better part of the grass.
Babe will be going, yeah, you did it.
One of my favorite ones when I was reading this is, I play for half my salary if I get hit in this dump all the time.
Oh, that was at the Yankee Stadium.
No.
No.
Shout it to the Chicago Cubs and speaking of Wrigley Field.
That's right. Oh, this is my husband, Andy, by the way.
Hi, Les Wolf. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is Gabe and this is Harvey.
Harvey. I'll hold this for you guys.
Is that during the 32, when he first played or when the 32 series?
I don't. It doesn't say anything exactly when.
Well, he hit
15.
when he pointed.
Yeah, that was the 32 World Series. The point.
Right.
Was that really a point?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
because he did it many times.
Okay.
He did it barnstorming and he did it in Japan.
Okay.
So he did it more than once.
But did he hit a home run every time?
Yeah, I think he did. He probably did. Maybe not. I don't know. That can't. Now I'll tell you when I can't answer a question. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But odds are, if you had baseball since 7 years old and you had it in your hand every day and did it for a career, don't you think you can do just about anything you want with that ball?
Hopefully.
I mean, come on. He used to make dirt balls into home runs because nobody threw inside the Babe. So he was making home runs out of dirt balls. So yeah, I believe he did it. And also he'd go in and say, hey, he'd go to the groundskeeper, hey, yesterday, what side did so-and-so hit the home run? He said, well, he hit it to the right. Okay, I'm going to hit mine to the left, and it would go. So you tell me whether he did it or not. I do believe he pointed. And he also, in that time, hit the longest home run in Wrigley Field.
He's hit almost the longest.
409 yards, right? The 32 home run, 49 feet. Yeah.
Now, you got to remember back in 32 when that happened, okay, the pitcher had his, when Ruth pointed, the reason why there's nothing documented, the catcher was talking to the umpire, had his back turned to Ruth, and the pitcher was facing,
Out. He was telling
Charlie
everybody
Root
to move back.
he was facing the outfield. But did he point? Sure he did.
Okay.
Okay? If he did it, what difference does it make? It's a great story.
Oh, absolutely. I always thought he
And then the
did.
Met men that said, yeah, he pointed.
And I got to tell you, my grandfather, as good as he was always super, super humble, okay? So when they said, hey, did you mean the point? He goes, nah, you know, like, hey, babe, did you eat one steak? I hear you ate 5, yeah, you know. He didn't want to show off for the team. He was one of the guys. So that even when he said, did you point, he went, he probably didn't want to overshadow.
Right.
anybody else.
Okay. We've had that. Those are the fun questions.
Okay.
Now let's get to the serious questions.
Oh, that was serious.
All right.
Okay.
Why is this story first coming out right now? He's been passed away since 1948.
You know, that is my biggest question because I was told that Kramer's ultimate Babe Ruth, nobody's going to write the definitive.
Robert Kramer.
Yeah. And nobody can write I can't even write a definitive Babe Ruth book because Babe keeps changing like feathers on a dinosaur.
He's changing. He's not even alive. He keeps on changing. That's amazing.
I mean, he keeps growing, and the stories, and when you research them, they're correct. These are not just word of mouth. I have like 5 historians to help me find these things out because I'm an amateur one. And every time we hear something about Babe, it's true. I don't know why the authors didn't write this information because the Holocaust was in the paper, so when they were doing even if they wrote it strictly on newspaper articles, they would have came across this. Why they didn't, I haven't got the foggiest because I think it's the biggest news, the Negro Leagues, the Holocaust, all this humanitarian, the lepers, when Babe spent a day with the lepers, I think that's tremendous. Who would have courage to do all that? So I can't tell you. And you can't ask Kramer because he died. I really wanted him to live because I wanted him to see this and comment on it. And unfortunately he passed away. So.
What about the book that is in Universal Babe? How did he find it? The Craig.
Oh, he actually, that was about Japan. And he was in Japan with his wife. He didn't have anything to do. She was working there. And so he decided he was going to dig into the Yomiuri Giants and the baseball history. So that book came from Japan, how they recalled it. you know, all babes. You're talking about Robert?
No, I'm talking about there was an article that Universal Babe, and that's what they said.
Oh, you're talking about Raffi?
No, Hunter, something.
Yes,
Hunter.
but the man who found it was Raffi
I don't know
Madoff.
that. Okay.
And
Is he here?
Yeah, he's going to be here.
Right here.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
Raffi.
come on
How
in.
you doing?
I need to do
Good.
something
You're here. You
for
can
1
answer
minute.
that question.
Just walked in.
Good.
All right.
I didn't even look
What?
over.
Excuse me, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, when you're
Yes.
done.
I'll be right back.
Go
Yes,
walk
yes,
around.
Yeah.
Okay.
How you doing?
All right, so
you
that-
look great. Now he's the one that found this out.
Okay,
and-
I
and
have the same
approached me.
question, but I'd rather hear it from you first.
Oh, well, he approached me, and of course, I looked at the article, looked at his credentials. We dug into, you know, whether it's true or not, just like everybody else that comes to me with stories, and it was absolutely spot on. And again, it was, he found it, why didn't somebody else find it? Maybe because it had to do, like the Navy League, that they wanted to look at it, you know, the Holocaust, the Jewish, nobody wanted to look at it, I don't know. But I'm glad I'm able to bring it forward with Raffi and let people know about it, because it's incredible. You know, for Babe, and, you know, I think they have a whole book now that I'm going to get about Roosevelt and that business.
Sure. I wrote one myself recently.
Did you?
I brought it with me, you'll see it.
Good. Well, I'll read yours, never mind the other one. But anyway, you can answer.
Les Wolf,
Hi.
Jewish Post, I'm helping out. This is Gabe, and this is Harvey.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hi.
All right. I'm going to ask you another question, the same question that is asked. We went through the jokes first, these old quotes. Why all of a sudden, 65 years after he passed away, why are we hearing the story now about Babe with the Jews?
I guess it's because of Linda's film, really. In other words, when Linda began working in this film, she was focusing on Babe Ruth's efforts to help black baseball players and to help the Women's League. So she was focusing on his concerns for minorities. That's how our paths crossed.
Okay.
I wrote about Babe Ruth's connection to protests against the Holocaust on the occasion of the 65th anniversary of his protest. Focusing on newspaper ads that appeared in 1942. So in 2007, on that 65th anniversary, I wrote an article about that, which Linda came across while she was working on her film. So that was the intersection. I was doing research on one area of Ruth's concern about minorities while she was working on a film about other aspects.
But where did we actually find out that he helped the Jews? If you're familiar with Max Schmeling helping the Jews, Max Schmeling stored them had them in another room. And if you saw the Joe Louis Max Schmeling story, they came out with that. How do we have something, that foundation to show how Babe actually did this?
Okay, so this is a little different. This is not like somebody uncovered a secret document. This was a newspaper ad which appeared in the New York Times and 8 other newspapers.
Okay.
In December of 1942.
Do we have a copy of that?
Yes, I have it with me. We'll be giving that to you.
Okay.
My institute focuses on the whole question of how Americans respond to the Holocaust. So in the course of my own research on the American response, this ad was one of thousands of documents that I studied, and I took note of the fact that Babe Ruth was among the signatories on that ad. So in other words, I was doing research.
So you're the one that discovered this thing.
Right, but it's not a discovery in the sense that I found it like in somebody's attic. It's
Yeah,
not so dramatic.
But you know what? But it is like that, because look at this. How many people are here? No one knew about this.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I'm a memorabilia collector and deal since I was 6 years old. I started collecting, right? And when I joined the Jewish committee here just to try to build a Hall of Fame, because I'm Jewish and I love sports, and Babe I love. And as soon as they told me that, I said, what? And I said, I can't believe that. I thought I knew every story that I've ever heard, and it just blows my mind. But he not only helped the Jews, he helped the Negro Leagues also.
Right, and the women's leagues, right. So
Everything. Yeah, everything.
Our institute has uncovered a number of interesting chapters from Holocaust history that are not known, which involve people who tried to help the Jews, but their stories are not well known. Another aspect of athletes being involved in this cause, broadly speaking, we've done a lot of work on the 1936 Berlin Olympics.
Oh.
And the question of American athletes who boycotted those Olympics. Most American athletes went, but there was a small number Jewish and non-Jewish, who refused to go as a matter of principle. And that's a whole other area of
Well, Marty Glickman is a big story on that
But
one.
he's the opposite. He's someone who went.
Went there, he went
even though
there.
he was Jewish. And
But
then,
they
and then
wouldn't
he got
allow
double
him. They
crossed.
wouldn't
Right,
allow
he got
him.
double crossed.
Right.
By the way, one of the athletes who boycotted was a basketball player for the LIU Blackbirds. Later went on to become a star pitcher for the Yankees. It was very interesting. A two-sport star, which is not at all common in those days. But if you're a college basketball player, there wasn't really pro basketball to go into at that point. And Lefty Russo was a terrific pitcher.
Marius.
And Marius, Lefty Russo, so he became a pitcher for the Yankees. When I was doing research on the athletes who boycotted the Olympics, and I came across his story as one of the LIU basketball players, I tracked down his daughter who lives in Florida. I gave her a call to ask her. She thought I was calling to ask about his basketball career, his baseball career. She knew about him as a baseball star. Growing up, she said to this day, she still gets requests all the time from old-time Yankee fans who want a photo of Lefty in his Yankee uniform. Hey, he was the star pitcher of the '41 World Series, for example. But I said to her, no, I want to ask you about your father's courageous stance in refusing to go to the '36 Olympics, and then he turned down the opportunity of a lifetime. '36 was the first year that basketball was an Olympic sport. So here he could have been on the world stage. LIU Blackbirds were the best team in the country, almost certainly would have been qualified. And yet, as a team, they refused to go. She had no idea, but she didn't know anything about this. And she was very pleased, of course. She was very proud, but she didn't know. So.
And I did say, Babe was on a committee for baseball in 1936 for the Olympics. They formed a committee. I'll send you a picture.
Was baseball an Olympic sport?
I don't know if they wanted it to be or they were trying to get it to be. I'm going to send you the picture.
Oh, okay.
And it's because I said, I asked one that my historians, I said, what is this picture, this American blah, blah, blah. He says, oh, that was for the Olympics. And it was a baseball committee. So I'm going to send
Even
you
after all these years, there are all these interesting unexplored episodes, right?
Yeah.
Let me just get
It's
through
like
this.
there's an endless.
All right. I don't want to, not cutting you short.
Nobody can write a definitive anything. Because with history, it always changes. Like I said, feathers on the dinosaur. Who thought? Tyrannosaurus Rex might have feathers.
I love the pinball.
Oh, thank you. Artist, Palmer Murphy, on the 114th birthday.
Is it just yours, or is there
Just my, no, one of
you guys
the
only
kind. Yeah.
One of
He
one.
made it.
One of
Yeah,
one.
he made it for
Born in
us.
1895, I think.
All right. We'll have more questions for both
I
of you.
myself want to see it.
It's right leaning right there.
Oh.
So when you're done.
You'll have some more questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
How old were you when you realized who your grandfather was, and what was it like?
I was in 8th grade. I knew he was a baseball player. I'd asked my mother, how come we don't talk about your dad? And he said, no, because he just played ball for a living. Get out of here. I'm 58 now, so you didn't argue with your mother and said, but what do you mean? You're too young to know, get out of here. And so I was in school, Catholic school, and one of my teammates came up and said, I heard your grandfather's Babe Ruth. And I went, yeah. He says, you know what he did for a living? I said, yeah, he played ball. And he goes, yeah, but, and he filled me in on how great my grandfather was. And so I went home, happy as a clam, thinking I'm famous, because, I'm thinking of James Cagney, Davy Jones and the Monkees, And I said, Mom, you didn't tell me, that I'm famous. She says, because you're not. I said, yeah, your dad is, you are, I am. No. She said, you're just lucky to be born in this family. And then, now that I was out of the bag, all my older brothers, sisters knew, but never said anything, because she was protecting us, because when we were kids.
Right.
And in fact, that's why.
Did she really say that was the reason?
Yeah. No, she told me. Because why didn't you tell me before? She says, I'd be afraid. She never saw any of her father's money. And my father worked hard. There were 6 of us. And she was afraid that if somebody did take us, she wouldn't have the money to respond. So she just, and so you know what, armed guards on Jackie Robinson's kids, and Mickey kept his in Texas. So there was a big concern about that.
Okay, what's your favorite story about your granddad?
Oh my, there's so many. There's so
If you had to
many
pick
at
one.
levels. Well, a story, I get to a story, but I will tell you.
We have to get going for a few minutes and resume this after.
I'm not going to run off on this.
Okay, I apologize,
Yeah,
Les.
so I will, if we don't finish now, we'll finish later.
Okay, I was going to want to take a picture with you.
Sure.
This jacket's from the movie 61, Billy Crystal. I bought it. I took a picture with him, and I want to take a picture with you.
you know, you hear stories about him, you hear, you know, his women, his wine, his song, his eating, which, by the way, he had to eat 6 times a day to fuel his existence, okay? So that's why he had an appetite, and the reason he broke curfew, he was ADHD, my brother had it, so to put him in a room would have been like jail, and then he'd get up really early and watch the trains come in wherever he was. So he didn't sleep much either, so he had to really fuel that body. But, you know, I said here, it's, you know a lot about him, you know, could he hit a ball? Yeah. Could he party? You bet. Did he love women? Not a doubt. Was he a saint? Far from it. But he did some saintly things, and that's the truth, and this is one of them. And when he was with St. Mary's, which was a reformatory / orphanage / trade school, but there was actually armed guards at the wall, so it was very much a reformatory. I think he was born with innate goodness, but the brothers, the Zavarian brothers, brought out that goodness, and he learned every day that he had to do good in the world. In fact, when he left, he had to say goodbye to the 3 classes of boys: the seniors, the middle, and the little guys, the minims they called them. And in every talk, he said, "I'm going to go out there and do good for you." And that's why he did good every day. Little things, big things, whatever he could do. I was told if you did him a favor, he'd do 2 back. And he never said no. And these are from people, they're older now that I knew. You know, they're in their 100s now and 90s. But they tell me that he never said no. And if you wanted to start a business, he had startup money for you. You bring it back and you go, "Oh, I forgot I did that." Yeah, put it into the business. He, you know, with his teammates, very generous man with his money. They never had to pay for anything if they went to dinner with Babe or whatever they did with Babe. So, a good man. But, let's see. I said, well, there's still 4 of us. The granddaughter that stands here today. I'm very lucky. And, everybody knows his name for his baseball feats, but you know, the proudest the family is and what he stood up for, which you're going to see in Universal Babe. If he saw wrong, no matter who he had to fight, whether it was Judge Landis most of the time, or the powers that be, he stood up for what he believed in and said, "Hey, look, you don't like it, too bad. This is not right." And one of it was the Holocaust. He said, "It's not right, there's atrocities, this is," you know, he was proud German. He was Prussian German. That's why his face was very ethnic. He was Prussian side, Prussian from the mountains. Anyway, so, but he thought that was wrong what they were doing, what his countrymen were doing, and he was going to stand up and not let it be ignored, which it was being ignored at that time, which Raffi will speak, Dr. Madoff will talk about more. And Negro Leagues, they were his friends. They wanted him to stop barnstorming. Landis said, "Stop barnstorming, I'll throw you out of baseball." He said, "You can't throw me out of baseball." He said, "No, but I can throw your friends out." And in that 1922, he stood out of suspension with Bob Music for 15 games. So next time, he didn't stop though. Next time he played with the Negro Leagues, he just didn't take anybody with him. He did it himself. So that's what we're proudest of to talk about. And in the cold shot, yes, he did. Yes, he did point. But my mother, the way I'm related is my mother's Dorothy Ruth Perone, his direct descendant daughter, which will explain this face of mine that I was born with. But you know what? It's funny. My mother was called adopted, and this face returned our tree, branch to our family tree. So I'm very proud of that. It took me like 20 years, but it's back up. And so that's what we're here to talk about. My grandfather had an affinity for abandoned people, sick people, abandoned people. And he would reach out to them, like in Hawaii, when he was on his way to Japan. He knew about the lepers, and there was Molokai, and he wanted to go see them. And the Yankee organization said, no, you're not going to do that. And he said, yes, I am. So him, a priest, and a boatman went to Molokai, rode a donkey 1,600 feet up, and he spent the day with the lepers. Now, I don't know, I consider myself a pretty daring, courageous person, but You know what, can't say that I would have that courage then, because I thought it was so contagious. But when they asked him, what if you get it? My grandfather said that it's God's will. So he's very strong in his faith. He says prayers every day. He used to drive the players to church every Sunday. And he'd say, you know, he'd throw a $100 bill in the collection, and they'd say, what, babe, you trying to make up for last night? You know, but he was a good man, and that's what the family, everybody, these books, these guys, you know, I was asked today, why wasn't this brought out sooner? I don't know, I believe there's a time for everything when it's proper to come out or good to come out. You know, why this didn't come out sooner, I haven't any idea. We have to ask the authors who wrote the books, because I don't know. I think this is so fantastic. And they say sensational. I think this is very sensational. I mean, that one man could do all this. You figure Babe was the only name on people's lips for like 20 years. And that was word of mouth. No internet. No, it was word of mouth from person to person. And so when Babe looked at something, you know, what's he looking at? And I guess that's the side that I think I'm so lucky. And every day, I found out in 8th grade, so from then on I've been trying to discover about who this man was, because I missed him by 7 years. And I looked at myself a few years back and said, Linda, what are you going to do after Babe Ruth? And I went, you're 57 years old. He's taken up my life. And it's been a wonderful ride. And it's like, I guess it's not going to wane. You know, you wait when you do genealogy, you wait for it to wane. He's never waned. He's never disappointed me. Whenever I've heard he's done something especially wonderful, I haven't, you know, other than his carousing and the women, I don't think I've heard anything. Well, I've heard some pretty good stories about that, but we won't share them here. But, yeah, I even know that part of it. But he just always fascinates me and never disappoints. And he just keeps evolving. I was just telling Rafi that you can't write a definitive book about Babe. If they say they did, like the ultimate book by Kramer, man, that is so passé now with all this new information. You can't do a definitive book on Babe. They just keep rewriting the same stuff. But I guess you guys will have to wait for my book. It's going to have all the good stuff in it. You know? But I want to thank you again for giving me a chance to use Babe's voice. I still think he's got lessons he can learn. And I think baseball needs Babe. They're trying to manufacture Babe, and you see how that's coming out. I think they need Babe again. They need him to resurface, teach the lessons that should be learned, take time. I mean, when I see like Bryce Harper. Anybody know Bryce Harper? He won the first, I do a replica bat, which I bought, so all you guys can hold a 54-ounce bat, which is what Babe swung when he was young. I told him, you know, when you're going up and you're in that zone, come out of the zone, make eye contact with the little kid, and say, how you doing, slugger? You're going to make a lifetime memory. And that's what Babe did. You know, he'd say, could you come, could you give me an autograph? My son couldn't make it, he's sick. After Babe said, come back after the game, he'd say, okay, where's your son? And he'd go see the kid. You know, maybe they don't have to go to that extent, but just make eye contact, he'd say. You know Don Mattingly, when he took that popcorn out of that kid's popcorn, you know what, that kid's going to be talking to that until God hope that he's 90. And so that's what I think people have to go back to the books. And they have to put a cap on these darn ticket prices. And I believe that. When they said Babe would approve of this new Yankee Stadium, I said he would not want a fan not being able to see a game for the price of a ticket. Oh my God, no. And now to the Yankees on the Speak Up Granddaughter. You won't see me doing many Yankee things, but anyway, thank you for having me. I don't want to monopolize up here because Rocky's going to get up here with really interesting information. And Byron, oh, one more thing about my friend Byron. I went to him about, how long ago? Byron, 6, 8 years ago? And I said, you know, I'm learning things about my grandfather I really want to talk about. And I think it's time for a new documentary, but not on this plane. And Byron said, I told Byron a little bit, and he said, you know, I think you're right. And he's gone through all the angst and trying to get things together. And I just want to thank him here publicly for doing that and having faith in Babe. Because man, and my husband, where are you, Andy? And my husband too, which I couldn't do this without him. And thank you all again. And I look forward to visiting with you after the luncheon and the movie, and we'll talk more. Thank you.
America's response to the Holocaust. It was a bestseller back in the 80s called The Abandonment of the Jews. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. And we'll actually have copies for sale outside a little bit later. That title, The Abandonment of the Jews, really summarizes the American response to the Holocaust. Because that's, broadly speaking, the response, especially the American government, was one of abandonment. But there is another side to that story, and the David Wyman Institute focuses both on those who did not help the Jews and how they could have, and also that minority of Americans who did speak out during the Holocaust, who did protest, who tried to help promote the rescue of Jews from the Nazis. It's a fascinating story, which historians are continuing to uncover. It's a story that has not yet been fully told. And it's in the context of that research, of our digging into the question of who did speak out, who did raise their voice, who was a moral exemplar during such a dark era. It was in the course of that research that we came across this startling information about Babe Ruth's involvement in a very important protest against the Holocaust. I'm not going to go into details about it now, both because you're going to learn more about it in the film that we'll see shortly, and because we'll have an extensive discussion after the film. But timing is everything. This is what I'll leave you with. Timing is everything. In baseball, obviously, timing is everything. In a split second, the batter is going to swing and miss and strike out, or is going to knock one over the fence. And timing, of course, in politics and in the great world beyond baseball stadium, timing is also everything. Babe Ruth's involvement in speaking out against the Holocaust came at exactly the moment when it was most needed. And this is what we're learning more about in the film. Precisely when the Allied governments were trying to bury news about the Holocaust, and precisely when major newspapers like the New York Times were burying it in their back pages, that's when a group of German Americans, Babe Ruth most prominent among them, that's when they spoke out to try to bring the issue into the headlines, to force the world to recognize the horrors that the Nazis were perpetrating against the Jews in Europe. I want to express my personal gratitude, first of all, to the Suffolk County, to the Suffolk JCC for inviting us here, to Scott and to Diane, to the other leaders of the JCC for making this program possible. But especially to Linda Tosetti and to Byron Hunter for creating this extraordinary film that we're going to see in a few minutes, which brings to light a story about an American icon, but a different side. A side of him is not the entertainer side, and athletes ultimately are entertainers, but a side, the humanitarian side, a side that we didn't know about, but which is crucially important, and which brings with it, as Linda alluded, brings with it powerful moral lessons for our own time about the need to speak out when innocent people are being persecuted anywhere in the world. That is not the example one expects Babe Ruth to set, but as we're going to see in the film and the discussion afterwards, that remarkably is exactly the example that he did set. So let me stop my remarks here, and I look forward to discussing this all in much more detail after the film. Thank you.
Babe Ruth's granddaughter. Babe Ruth's granddaughter. Yeah, have her come over here. So Linda sat down, And he goes, I went to the Super Bowl with your granddad. He was a good man. He supported us. He brought us equipment. He said, and he came to every one of our games. And every once in a while, he'd even have two blondes on each arm. One for me, one for me. And he went like this. Right. And he went like this. And he went like this. And he goes, honey, if I was a little younger, I sure could go for you. And that was the sign that she taught him double duty radical. Okay, now, there was the confirmation right there. No, this man was not prejudiced. And then Linda started to look into it more and found more and more information. Now, you know why he didn't become manager in 1929? Okay? It wasn't because he couldn't handle himself or 29 other men. Linda's got a lead on this.
Thank you.
Here's going to bring a player of color onto that team in 1929. Landis would have never had that because Landis was a racist and everybody knew it. It wasn't going to happen. That's why he didn't become manager of the Yankees.
And that's why we didn't have Jackie Robinson until the year after Landis died.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But at least he was equal opportunity. He did the Black Sox scandal too.
He spread the wealth.
You know, those two guys never saw the light of day either.
Did you ever think who maybe Babe's favorite Negro leaguer was? Satchel.
It's in the film. So you have to watch. No, you got to watch the film. That one can't tell you that. Yeah, well, it's in the film.
It could have been Josh.
No, it's in the film.
It's gotta be Satchel.
It's in the film.
Did you ever meet Satchel?
No, I never did. It would have been my pleasure, but I never did.
What a funny guy, nice guy.
First time I went to sitting on the Negro League players
you're talking about Buck, yeah, Buck O'Neil.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Buck O'Neil should have been in the Hall of Fame 20
He
years.
missed by one vote. When they
That's a
put
tragedy.
in
They should have put him in when he was alive.
Bruce
That way-
Sutter, when they put Bruce Sutter in, 17 Negro Leaguers went in, right? He missed by one vote.
And Buck O'Neil should be in for three different things. First, he was a player in the Negro Leagues, one of the greatest of all time. Then he was a manager in the Negro Leagues. Then he became a scout in the major leagues, and he's responsible for bringing in Willie Mays and Lon Roosevelt.
But I'll go one step further. Should be four. He's an ambassador.
And he was an ambassador of baseball, exactly. But he was a scout. He actually, after the Negro League, brought in the Hank Aaron. He was the one that said, you need to sign him. You need to sign him.
So they put a statue of him in the Hall of
So
Fame.
he did get it.
In fact, this man was so humble, he gave the benediction at that induction when those 17 Negro Leaguers went in. An opportunity. So he did. He was that.
All right, did you know the Max Schmeling story with Joe Louis? Did you know? Did you familiar with that story? Max Schmeling and Joe Louis had very close bondage from their fights. Did you know that when Joe Louis died, Max Schmeling paid for his funeral?
Wow, I would believe that. And I know Frank Sinatra paid for some stuff for him as well. Because at that point, he and Joe were very, very tight. So, yeah, Max Schmeling was a tremendous story, and I have read a lot about him. You know,
do something like that.
he really changed. He had a lot of respect, you know, and it was hard for him because he wasn't really allowed to have the respect that he wanted to have for him because he was German, and the Germans had this expectation. When he was like, I ain't mad at the Louis man, I ain't mad at Joe Louis, you know, yada yada, but the Germans wanted to be, you know, United States, Germany.
I'd say my favorite Babe Ruth line was when he was asked how it felt to make a home run in the president. I had that here.
You go through all the quotes from Wikipedia with
He did have
I did it before with Linda. Great ones.
But yeah, some of your questions you'll see in the film, and that's how far.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to let you know that in the auditorium it is general seating, so at whatever time you'd like to head to the auditorium, we will be having a 1:15 start of the film.
Do you have cards?
You say that your film is a lot more personal than the other Babe
Yes, and I think it's a lot more informative in terms of baseball history that people don't know. So I think that my hope is that you will watch it and you will say, wow, if at some point in the movie you go, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that's what got me here.
Yeah, and so a lot
Sounds like a good part of the movie will be things we'll be saying.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, and it's nice, and I won't be Again, get too far into it, but it's nice as a filmmaker to go and when we showed it at the New York Times, we created the New York Times headquarters right when it came out, right when we finished it last in November, December. And there were people who had worked with the Yankees there were people who were baseball writers, and when you get people that say, there was one thing I didn't know and another thing I didn't know, but when you get people that were like, I've been following Babe Ruth and I'm 65 years old, and I grew up as a kid who knew him, and I feel like I know everything I can about Babe Ruth, and I learned this, then you know. Because when we show it, people like, let me see this film, because I know all about Babe Ruth. I already know. Nothing you can tell me about Babe Ruth. And they come out going, no, I didn't.
So when will this film be shown? Why?
It's going to be on television in next September.
Really?
Yes, on Fox and ABC.
Really? What are these two guys here?
These are my producers, man. Eddie helped co-produce and edited the film. And and Pericles is one of my producers. Helped produce the film as well. And
It's been a lot of fun doing. How long did it take you to do?
the final phase took about 6 or 7 months, but it took about 3 years altogether. It took me about a year to get the story. I didn't want to do anything that was already done. And so I wanted to make the whole documentary about things that had never been told. So I had to get input, I had to we interviewed a lot of people. But, you know, we interviewed some Negro Leaguers, you're going to see some prominent sports writers in the film. We just wanted to get as good of a story as we could.
Did you do that by ESPN?
Keith Olbermann. Yes. He's in the film. Yeah, Keith is in it. And a lot of people don't know Keith is a baseball historian. That's how he got it.
He's a baseball star.
And he told us an interesting story that's actually not in the film, so I can share it with you. He said that when his mother was a little girl, she was about 7 or 8 years old, she had an uncle who was much older than her, and she was responsible for always pushing around on a wheelchair. That was her job, is push your uncle around. So one day she said, her uncle said, take me to Yankee Stadium. So they went to Yankee Stadium, and they sit out, and they pull in the wheelchair in front of the entrance. So all the players walk by, and Babe Ruth walked by. He stops. He ends up having a conversation with her for 10 or 15 minutes, and this man, they had to come and get him, because they were like, Babe, we got his game. So they ended up pulling Babe in to play the game. She told that story to Keith, and that's how he became a baseball star. And that's why Babe Ruth is his biggest fan. That's why he's a big fan of Babe Ruth. That's why he did the film, and that's why he's like, dude, I became a baseball fan because my mother met Babe Ruth when she was like 8 years old. So even
Did you find yourself having to cut out a lot of things?
too much stuff. There are a lot of people that are cut out and a lot of things that.
What's your next project?
We're doing a project on Flip Schulke. Flip Schulke is considered one of the greatest photographers of all time. He created the whole concept of underwater photography because he created the lenses to use underwater, or the cases, the housing to put cameras in. But he was also the personal photographer for Martin Luther King. So every famous picture you saw of Martin Luther King, he shot. He also was shot Castro's first day in Cuba, shot President Kennedy as far as he was a presidential photographer. And he was half Jewish, half Jewish. His father was not Jewish and was an anti-Semite.
So,
Did you hear me?
really?
His father was not Jewish and was an anti-Semite and was married to a Jewish woman. So he beat his wife and his children.
Wow.
And so Flip ran away from home when he was 17 years old and became one of the greatest photographers of all time.
That's a good reason to run away from home.
So he was an equal opportunity racist.
Yeah,
Here we go
but
with
it's
that
like,
again.
if you're an anti-Semite, why would you marry somebody Jewish? I'm still trying to grasp that. And didn't have children. I'm trying to grasp that. So you automatically hate your son because he's not what you want him to be, but you made him.
Well, I guess we'll
And Andy Tosetti, Linda's husband, is also one of the producers of the film.
Any more questions? Somebody must have something.
I'd like to ask you, what are some of your favorite personal recollections of your grandfather?
Well, like I said, I missed him by 7 years. But, you know, the first story my mother told me was, were you at luncheon? Were you at the luncheon? Oh, okay, then I'll have to repeat it, tell it to you. The very first story she told me about Babe's generosity was when he went to visit the lepers at Molokai, and the Yankee organization didn't want him to go. in Hawaii, when he was in Hawaii on his way to Japan. And Babe said, I'm going to go visit him. He had a penchant for abandoned people. And so him, a boatman, and a priest went to Mauna Kea, rode a donkey 1,600 feet up, and he spent the whole day with the lepers. And when he was asked, what if you come down with leprosy, he said, then it's God's will. He was very courageous, and that was the absolutely first story my mother ever told me to explain. I was in 8th grade, and it just stuck with me that he was that brave. And then I have many now. I would have to keep you all here for hours, but the many ones that are my favorites. The question was, did his parents visit him and go back to visit him on the weekends when he was in St. Mary's? Well, at first, yeah, he went in at 7, and it was because they ran a bar. And what happened, somebody shot a gun, and a truant officer, and there was my grandfather running around, 7 years old at the bar. He was drinking beer. He was getting in trouble. I think he got his aim throwing, rotten tomatoes at the truck drivers' heads. So something had to be done about him. So they put him into St. Mary's. Now, at first, his mother did go visit him. His sister, Mamie, told me stories. But what would happen was Babe would cry and want to come home, and her heart would break, so she'd bring him home. And the whole ritual would go again, having to bring him back, break ties. So after a while, she made a conscious decision not to go visit him, not to abandon him, but he was better off in the school than him. She couldn't bear not to bring him home. So he wasn't exactly abandoned, it was a choice. He was better off. All right, most books written said he died of throat cancer from smoking and drinking. That is untrue. It is very much untrue. Babe didn't smoke. Once in a while you may catch him with a cigarette, but he used to say it stole your wind. He smoked cigars and didn't inhale. And his real drink of choice was beer. And he died of nasopharyngeal carcinoma. And what that is, it's a tumor where your nose drains into your throat. Up there, he got a tumor. And all those recordings where you hear him talking like this, when they went in to get the tumor, they nicked his voice box. And that's what made him talk like that. That's what he died of. They think it's a genetic cancer. He would have got it if he lived the cleanest life. They figured when he was, to go back a minute, I got concerned, being direct descendants, and there's 6 of us in our families. Should this be something for us to be concerned with? And Dr. Maloney said, no, it's genetic to Asian people. And they figured when Babe and Lou were in Japan, they came in contact with the Epstein bar. Where is it, bar Epstein bar? And his turned into cancer, and they think Lou's might have turned into the ALS. But it's only speculation, they don't know. But, so that's what he died of. And it took them, I don't know, when was Babe diagnosed? I guess, was it 40, let me think, died in 48, 45? Yeah, 1945, right after the bond tour. Yeah. Oh, how my grandfather got the name Babe. Because his full name was George Herman Babe Ruth. His nickname Jidge from when he was a kid. What happened was, when he was in St. Mary's, Father Gus brought an Oriole representative out to see this kid that was, he was hitting home runs at 7 over right fielders' heads. And he was remarkable as soon as they put the bat in his hand. So he was a shirt maker by trade. So Jack Dunn came to see Babe, and Father Gus was right. And he said, hey Babe, how'd you like to play ball with us? And he said, gee, Mr. Dunn, I'll sew the uniforms together and I'll sew the balls back together if you let me play baseball. He didn't even realize he was going to get paid. He was 19. And so what Jack Dunn had to do is he had to sign guardianship for my grandfather. to get him out of St. Mary's legally. So when he was hitting 90-foot, 9-foot home runs in Fayetteville, they turned around and said, "Who the heck is this young kid?" And they said, "Jack Dunn's Babe." So Baby. So that's how he got the name Babe. It just stuck. Do you play winter ball? Oh, well.
Yeah, it wasn't really as formed as it is now, but he did go to Puerto Rico and play. He played in Cuba during the winter. But mainly what they did a lot was barnstorming the United States, and that's where the whole Negro League thing comes back into play. Is that, yes, they played a lot of games, but there were traveling teams of all races and religions. So Babe played against Jewish teams that were barnstorming teams, as well as Asian intern teams during the internment of the Asians during the war. He actually went and played there as well. So he was very active, to answer your question. He did play in the off seasons, but sometimes it would be what you would call winter ball down in the Caribbean, and sometimes he would just travel around the United States. Yes, sir.
Well, my brothers never had a chance because, again, my mother didn't say who we were. So they really played football or whatever. The great-grandsons, it was still too close. When they were on teams, they wanted him to point, hit a home run. He's on the team because he's Babe Ruth's great-grandson. But I'm here to tell you that there's a great-great-grandson coming up. Great-great-grandson coming up. He put the bat in his hand, and my sister Ellen, who helps with the business side of Babe Ruth, we looked at each other and went, uh-oh. He's only 15. He's got a long way to go. But I got to tell you, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, except he's skinny. Skinny, skinny, skinny. And you know what? If he keeps it together and keeps the passion, everything works out. You might be hearing from him. He carries Babe as a third name. So. I don't know if anybody heard me the way I found out about my grandfather was, my mother hid all of us. There were 6 of us. She never saw money from her dad. She had a little trust fund from his first wife, but that's it. So there were 6 of us. So she hid us in Connecticut because she was afraid someone was going to kidnap one of us and wouldn't have the money, to get us back. In fact, Clementi kind of had bodyguards on his kids, didn't he? Robinson. And Mickey Mantle kept his 4 sons in Texas to protect them. So when I was in 8th grade at a Catholic school in Roosevelt, New York, I went to school one day and a kid said, "Your grandfather Babe Ruth?" And I went, "Yeah, he is." He goes, "You know what he did?" I said, "What do you mean what he did?" He said, "What he did for a living." I went, "He played ball." That's all my mother ever told me. That's go out and play. I'm 58. You don't argue with your mother when she says go out and play. So I said, "Yeah, okay." And he says, "No, I got to tell you." And he told me about this famous grandfather. And like I said, I was, James Cagney famous, Errol Flynn, Davy Jones and the Monkees, And I had to go home and find out about this famous grandfather and why my mother didn't tell me. So I said, "Mom, we're famous." She goes, "What?" I said, "Why didn't you tell me I was famous?" She says, "Because you're not." And I said, "Yeah, I am. Your dad, you, me." She goes, "No, you didn't hit the ball. You didn't do anything. You're lucky enough to be born in this family." And slowly she told me about what my responsibility was to be part of Babe Ruth. And it wasn't what I could get from it. And it was what I could bring to the legacy. It was my responsibility to find out how I could continue to do good in Babe's name like he did, not sit back and say, "Oh, look at me, how famous I am." Because I'm here to tell you, I was talking to a woman at the book station. Where are you? You in here? They're selling the books at the table? And she told me she wasn't really a baseball fan, but just because it was Babe Ruth and what he meant is why she was here. Oh, there you are. Why she was here. And that's exactly it. It's the energy of the man and who he was. And that's why it's important for us to have documentaries like this so you can see, yeah, he hit home runs and he did great things, but he was so much more and helped out so much more that it's a travesty not to have it out so you can know the whole Babe Ruth. And for the family, it just makes us proud. You know, it's you know, we're not in it for the money, huh, Byron? No, we're just here to get the good word out. And so that's how I found out about my grandfather. And believe me, I've been trying to work at it since then. I've been studying him just to find out about him.
I have a question for the two gentlemen. Maybe you will, of course, can answer as well. What was the influence or what reaction with Babe's thoughts about with the personality about the reaching out to other people or the other players that he played with the Yankees? Did he try to express that to other players? And what was the reaction of those players during this period of time?
Make sure to save some battery.
Good question. But I think it's important to know that even when Babe played, if I'm not mistaken, for the Yankees, Lefty Gomez, who is Mexican, was actually his best friend, I believe, for some time. So even within the team, he was a multicultural person. So he tended to embrace these other players. Another thing that we had mentioned in the film was about Bill Bojangles Robinson. What we didn't talk about was the fact that because Babe was also barnstorming with Negro Leagues, he got into a lot of trouble with the Yankees because he would bring Negro League players to the Yankee clubhouse in 1927. And they were like, what is this about? But he ended up being the first to bring players in the clubhouse. He was the first to bring African-American players onto the behind the plate to sit, to watch Yankee games. So.
And also with his teammates, you know, he wasn't a show-off with his teammates. You know, they saw what he did, but he was never a bragger or a boaster or, hey, you know what I'm doing tonight? He never did that. He treated, my mother told me, he treated playing ball like a job. So his teammates would have been just what they were, his teammates that he worked with. And so was he good with them and cajoled with them? Yeah, they had a good time. But when he left the office and did. Sometimes he'd bring a player with him to do it. But yeah, he had a couple of best friends. Wade Hoyt. In fact, Wade Hoyt did a lot of the humanitarian things with him. So they would join in when they could. But like I said, he wasn't a bragger and saying, hey, come on, join me. I'm going to go do this. You were welcome if you wanted to. But he was very close with his teammates and very much a team player. A lot of people don't realize the groundskeepers becoming part of the purse. Well, when my grandfather was doing the series, he would pass the hat for the groundskeepers and say, come on guys, they did a good job. This is before they became part of the purse. And he would pass the hat so they could get their money. So Babe was always proactive, very close with, and everybody loved him. Even, let's put it this way, do you know another ball player that could go into a opponent's dugout until it was his time to turn to come up to bat? He would come out of the Detroit dugout after he said hello to all his friends and then take his turn at bat. So I guess he was close with all the ball players.
What happened with Lou Gehrig? Was it ever reconciled later on?
Lou Gehrig and Babe were very close, very close. Babe helped him with his hitting to get him where he was, along with Miller Huggins. They worked one-on-one. They were friends. When Babe used to barnstorm, he would take Lou, and Lou was making $60,000 a summer just barnstorming with my grandfather. So we helped him out. He knew he was a young ball player coming up. The feud that you're talking about happened much later in his career. And what happened was, quite frankly, my mother used to vacation with Lou's mother and father in their farm. And what happened was, unfortunately, with the second wife, she'd buy really fancy clothes for her own daughter. And my mother would get like 200 pounds down to 80 pounds hand-me-downs. So Lou's mother, who used to cook for Babe, they used to talk German together. She loved Babe. Complained that my mother should be dressed as nice. And what happened was, Babe went to Lou, because of course
she started yakking at Babe and said, hey, you know, Lou, can you tell your mom to kind of keep her mouth quiet? Well, Lou didn't take to that. He thought, you don't talk to my mother that way. And even though Babe, got over it, Lou never did until literally when he was dying. Because when he went to Lou Gehrig, when he gave the speech, I'm the luckiest guy to ever walk the face of earth, that they got back together. And when he was at his wake, my mother remembers him saying, I lived the crazy life. He didn't. Why him and not me? So yeah, they remained close to the very end. He really loved Lou.
Just to follow up to that, with Lou Gehrig's German ancestor, was he ever approached about signing the document, or what was his feeling? You know.
We don't know who exactly was approached because the documents about the mechanics of organizing that ad have never been located. What we know from internal records of the Jewish organizations that helped pay for the ads, we know that Dorothy Thompson, the journalist mentioned in the film, we know that she's the one who came up with the idea and kind of spearheaded it. But we don't have, let's say, copies of letters from Dorothy Thompson to Babe Ruth or letters to any of the signatories. So we don't know for sure who was approached. And therefore, as far as Gehrig is concerned or any other German descendant athletes, we just don't know.
I always speak off the cuff, but because I had dreamed that, I thought I better write it down. And it read beautifully, but when I was trying to talk, it was interrupting my normal thought. So I did get everything out, but normally I just speak off the cuff.
That's
I
the only way to do
never
it.
write anything down.
I wrote
except
down
for this
things.
time. Go ahead, Anna. I'm
All
gonna
right.
shut up.
No, okay, I don't mind.
I can talk. We could be here hours.
You and I could go out this hours, believe me. Hank Green was considered the Jewish Babe Ruth as he was approaching the home record in 1938. He was approaching the home. We have heard that pitchers were not allowed to give him the opportunity to surpass his record by walking a record 15.9 times, as referenced by Hard Times. How do you think Babe felt about this?
Like I think the guys that Byron answered that. I think first
I want
of
to
all,
hear your answer, though.
my grandfather would have been rooting for him to do it, seriously.
Okay.
He loved the game. He was so, and he would have loved Hank Aaron, even though he didn't
Breaking the
beat
record.
him.
Tied of him.
Good for baseball. See, people forget about what the game needs.
The big picture.
The big picture. And my grandfather was so beloved of baseball that anything that he could do good for baseball, he would do it. And that would be the Negro Leagues. That would be Hank Greenberg breaking a record. That would be anything that's good for baseball. So my grandfather would have been fine, and he wouldn't have liked the politics of setting somebody up and doing it. Just for Pete's sake, pitch to the guy and let him, walking him. Nah, I'm sure Babe would have wanted him to burn it.
I heard from a reliable source that Hank on his deathbed said to someone, I wish I just could have beaten the record.
What, just could have,
Could have gotten allowed to hit.
Well, I know he loved my grandfather. That I know. I have many pictures. Most of those pictures you see of Hank Greenberg, they're from
He was
my
a nice
collection.
man, Hank, very nice guy.
Oh, yeah, and Babe, you can tell, if you look at the face of my grandfather, you can tell how much he likes somebody and how, I guess I studied him so long, I know his looks. And I can tell
Well, you've
whether
got a lot
he's
in you.
sincerely visiting with him, or it's like, all right, let's get this press thing over with. You know what I mean? He did love Hank. In fact, my mother told me that.
During the Barnstorming days, Ruth and Gehrig toured the country and played against some of the best Negro League teams ever. This time in sports, blacks were not allowed into the major leagues. They played against all the greats, Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige. Why do you think he was outspoken about Did you feel it was because he was an orphan and knew how hard it was to get past feeling alone against the world?
Well, again, I'm going to enter that from the way my grandfather thought, and it was baseball. The reason he loved playing with the Negro Leagues is they challenged him. Think about it.
They were the top of the top, the best of the best.
All the pitches were coming out of the Negro Leagues. All the great pitches that.
But Josh Gibson was a catcher.
Right, but Babe
They're
started.
the best players.
Yeah, and Babe started out as a catcher in St. Mary's, by the way.
Okay.
And no, so I think he thought they're good players. They challenged him, and He got a hit, he got a home run off Satchel Paige. It hit the wall, Satchel saved the ball and had Babe sign it. So when Chris Rock says he never faced black ball players, well, no, not in Major League, they weren't there, but he did. And Josh Gibson, we don't know, if they met, it was like this. Do you know what I mean? It was, we don't know if they met. If they did, I don't know, I don't think they had a chance to play together because Josh died and it was like the wind. But I believe, and Babe didn't believe what's right too. It goes back to the question too, where Babe didn't think if it was against any human being for a stupid reason. Like I told you, I pushed Gabe because I just wanted to push him.
How long are you gonna be?
I'm not gonna be long. Just let me, I got 2 questions.
All right.
I'll be fast.
And then if
Okay,
he wanted,
okay.
if Gabe wanted to ask anything.
Okay, well, we can always go outside too. If I went like this to Gabe, and just to push him, and he'd say, what the hell did you do that for? But if I went like this to get him out of the way, what would you say?
I don't say anything.
You wouldn't say, gee, nice, that was nice of you to do that? In other words,
Oh.
Babe didn't believe in beating somebody up just to beat somebody up.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? That's
Oh,
what
yeah, I
she
understand.
meant.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? In other
Yeah.
words, there's no reason why they couldn't come in baseball. Because some of the white guys might have been beat. Oh my, isn't that the game? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They
the
would've
other part
uplifted the
about that,
game.
but you know what, even further, those players back then, in the major leagues couldn't even shine the shoes of some of the Negro Leagues. The Negro League players are so much better, so he was playing even in a
Yes.
tougher area.
Yes.
Those players were some of the all-time greats.
And isn't
Cool
that
Papa Bell.
Yes.
Buck Leonard, you got some
They
amazing
asked him.
players.
They asked him on a radio show who did he think the best ball player was? Just best
Pop
ball
Lloyd.
player.
Pop
Pop
Lloyd.
And that's the way he felt. So yeah, and what man? That shows you what kind of man he was. He didn't take the easy way out. He could beat most everybody in the leagues. He wanted to challenge himself more.
And this
so
way
he
made his
wants
skills
to.
even better.
You bet, you got it. So what kind of man? That's a pretty good man that wants to not be complacent.
You know, that's why your granddad is all going to live on in the future in sports culture. Forever and ever
And
and,
he
ever.
also loves.
And so are you.
I don't know about
Yes,
me.
yes,
I'm just
you are.
kidding. Once the space is off the space of the world, this side of the world, I don't know. But my grandfather, I think, also lives on because people know he loved his fans, and that was not a fake love.
No,
He
you can see that.
truly cared about his fans. They were his family. He didn't have a family per se. So when he did good, the boys would clap, and then they clapped, he'd do it better. When the fans clapped, he'd say, "You like that? Watch what you see next time. You think that was good?" Nothing. It was like a family proud thing. And that's why Mom knew at a very young age that she didn't own her father. She wasn't the only thing in her father's life. The fans,
Competition.
didn't belong. Oh, and she didn't mind. She knew he didn't belong to her. She understood. I'm telling you, my mother was wiser than her ages for a good reason. We won't go into that.
Last question.
Sure.
You ready? If you had to think of one thing that you want your granddad to be remembered in the history of sports in one word, what would that be?
Humanitarian.
I wanted to ask, what do you think gave Babe the courage to speak out against his German-American counterparts who were pro-Nazi?
I'm sure that when they asked him to sign that petition, I'm sure that they showed him information. And if I know what my mother, now see, I can only go with surmise how I feel, or how my mother told me. It probably would have ate at him, and this is, I mean, who wouldn't? Look at those pictures. In fact, a couple of those pictures in the film were color. And I said, take the color out of them.
Definitely.
They were too brutal.
Too graphic.
Oh, they were bad. And so Byron thought he would leave them in, and I said, don't. I didn't like the reaction I had to him. It was like, people already know. You don't have to, like, hit him over the head with it.
Yeah.
And so I think he just saw atrocity. Now, when he was growing up, he wasn't abandoned, but yes, he kind of was. My mother had abandonment issues, too, because he was not home a lot. So you had to remind, that's another thing, fans always reminded Babe he was loved. You always had to remind my mother that she was loved. When baseball turned its back on him, you know what gave him cancer? People gave him cancer. I'm telling you. He was so unhappy and so distraught, he wanted to kill himself.
Yeah.
Because the one thing he loved the most, that loved him back, and for a stupid-ass reason for putting a player of color on the team. he couldn't have the last thing he really, really wanted, after all the good he did. And there's still not a statue of him in New York. What the hell's the matter with him? There's 5 of Jackie, 6 of Clemente, none of Babe.
Yankee Stadium has him.
Not a statue?
No, not a statue, right, that's a monument.
And you know why Babe Ruth Plaza is Babe Ruth Plaza?
Why?
Because of the Speak Up Granddaughter, which I'm known to the Yankees. They were gonna make that Lou Gehrig Plaza. And I said, excuse me, you tore down his stadium, you put the stadium on top of his Memorial Park at McCombs. Where's his, what part does he have in the stadium? It's Babe Ruth Plaza. They'll deny it, but I know it's true. That's from the inside. Yeah. So they don't honor him. That's why in the film I say, you know what, he's honored by his fans every day. You guys, you collecting, you just, asking about him. And so I'm not worried about the fans. And I want to retire his number throughout MLB. I don't want to take it off the field. I don't want to have a game every year with 42, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. It costs $1 million every year for those stupid uniforms. I just want a 3 hanging in every stadium. And I want to see 3 on the field because you only think of one person. All I want MLB is to retire his number per se and put a 3 in every stadium. That's all.
You'll do it. You'll do it.
I'm Selig said it's not going to happen.
Selig's leaving.
Yeah, next guy hopefully. And that's because they want Jackie to be the only one. And I'm not disagreeing.
Right.
Jackie should have been retired, but he should not be the only one.
Do you need me to drive you anywhere? You have a car?
No, he's okay. No, we're okay. But and that's it. And I'm doing this all because I think Babe still has lessons like Rafi said. He has moral lessons to be learned still. I think there is, especially with all this steroids. Oh, you know Barry Bonds? I don't know if you know this real fast. The Giants were after me for 3 days to go shake Barry Bonds' hand. I said no.
You're right.
No. And they said, why? I said, quite simply, because I'm direct, as you haven't found out by now. I said, steroids are killing my grandfather's kids. No way. They were putting motor oil in their arms. They send for it on the, they don't know what they're getting online. They were shooting all this crap up their arms. I said, no. They were after me. Just sit with the, you don't have to shake his hand, just sit with the owner. I said, no. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not, that condolence, no. And so that's how protective I am of the legacy and what's important.
But you're right. You know, Bonds I found out when I was in San Diego doing the memorabilia tour. Bonds was an amazing hitter in the minor league. Was hitting in front of the plate against one of those one-arm bandits. Hitting everything over the fence. He was still an amazing hitter. When he saw McGuire and Sosa get past him, he got jealous. That's why he started taking the rights.
Well, their asses too. Their asses too. ESPN did those, what was it, the Millennium Sports Stars of the Century? They made, now ESPN used to do decent stuff. They centered on his partying, and I said, what the heck is this? You know, I will own that Babe partied a lot and had women a lot. He was 19, and he had the world by you-know-whats, and he took every advantage of what he had. But there's more to the man. I own that. And if I told you I didn't, then you shouldn't believe anything I say. If I believe he was a saint. Okay, that means that doesn't make me credible. But how come they let all his baggage hang out and they don't let Jackie's hang out? They let Mickey's hang out like crazy. They don't let Joe's. They don't let anybody else's stuff hang out but Babe's. If you're gonna accept Babe, then accept everything about Babe. You know, the good and the bad. That's my point.